Hey guys, and welcome to Console Land. Today on the channel we're going to be doing a retro review of the Atari 7800. Before we begin our review, please don't forget to click on the subscribe button and leave some comments below if you want, and also click on the like button. So here we have the Atari 7800. Now this console was due for release in the early 80s, but because of the console crash in 1983, mainly caused by the dawn of the home computers and just oversaturation of the market of game consoles. This console was delayed until around about 1984 for the American market and 86 for the UK market. During that delay, Atari was sold by Warner's to Jack Tramiel for just $50, and Warner retained a 20% ownership of Atari through their stock sales. And Jack's vision was clearly focused on the home personal computer market, and sales of the Commodore 64 and the re-release of it in its new casing, and working on the Amiga later down the line was really their main focus. And subsequently the sales of this particular console and all future Atari consoles suffered for that reason. And that was a real shame for a company that pioneered the whole idea of having interchangeable games cartridges to now suddenly be focusing almost entirely on their home personal computer sales, and not so much on the games consoles. Really gave the likes of Nintendo and Sega that opportunity to saturate the market further and push Atari out almost entirely for the future of their games consoles and handheld sales. So I guess you could say that Jack Tramiel's vision for Atari in terms of the home personal computer systems kind of sealed the fate of the Atari game consoles for the future, and unfortunately the 7800 could almost be called the beginning of the end for Atari's games console run. But we shouldn't let any of that detract from the fact this is a pretty good console. So let's have a look and see what you get in the box. It's quite a compact box compared to the previous 2600 and 5200, but then it is a smaller console. Nice clear images of the games. Interesting to see the Super Mario Brothers franchise there from Nintendo as well. Also interesting to see on this is the free Asteroid games built in. Now, I think this might have been one of the first games consoles to have a game built into it. If you know differently, let me know in the comments below. What else you get in the box is two Atari controllers. Now I know these ones are slightly different to the American versions, which are a bit more chunky, but the same connector as on those, and obviously on the 2600, and I think these are also compatible with the Segas as well. It's a decent enough controller, pretty simple, a little bit plasticky and cheap feeling, but I guess that was the whole concept of this console. It was mass produced and in the hope that it would sell a lot more than it actually did, and some of those areas that suffer are the build quality, and this is a little bit plasticky, but it looks okay. What else you get here is the two manuals. The actual system manual itself, detailing how it all connects together, how the games cartridge slot in, and whatever else. Also worth noting here at this point is their horrible charger, which we'll come on to in a second, and it's not very good connections. And you get an Asteroids manual there as well. Okay, so now let's take a quick look at the dimensions of the Atari 7800. As you can see, it's around 29-ish centimeters wide, which is quite a decent size, by about 21 centimeters deep, and then about 9 centimeters high. So it is quite a compact console, as I said, compared to the previous one, which was huge. Have a simple layout of the buttons here on the front: power, pause, select and reset, typical from the Atari 2600 days all the way through to now, because the games are backwards compatible. You just use the existing 2600 games in here and they all work with this system, so it's no surprise the button layout is similar there as well, and that's really a good feature. Really, that expands that library hugely. Hundreds of games on the 2600 that can be played on this system. Look at the front here, we've got the two controller ports and the player difficulty switches just here and here. Again, all similar to the controls of 2600. Really good marketing decision, I think, by Atari to leave that as a backward compatible, because you don't have to worry about having a huge library, because people can still use their existing games. Tipping upside down, you can see I've got the PAL version here, because I am in the UK, and on the back here We have that horrible proprietary connection that Atari brought out. I don't know why they didn't stick to the same sort of style as the earlier Ataris, but this square plug-in, I mean, some people choose to go down the road to change that over and put in a standard sort of round type connection, but it's left on mine as it was. The only thing that has been changed on mine is it's now AV modded, so you can actually plug in a composite jack there that outputs to the RCA type connection, so I can play it on my PVM. So we've removed the television channel selector and the RF box out there and put in our AV mod. Okay, let's have a quick look at some gameplay. So I guess you'll notice the one thing that never really changed there was the Atari audio, and unfortunately Atari made the decision to use the same sound chipset that they used in the 2600, so there was no real advance there, which is a shame because the sound processors of the Nintendo and the Sega was by far more advanced. If we look at the tech spec of the 7800, it has the CPU is the Atari Sally 6502, which is clocked at 1.19 to 1.79 megahertz. In terms of memory, it's 4 kilobytes of RAM and 4 kilobytes of BIOS ROM, and each cartridge has 48 kilobytes of cartridge ROM space on there as well. It has a separate graphics processing chip, the Maria custom chip, which runs by itself at 7.16. So in terms of spec, it was a pretty good spec console. Definitely comparable to the Sega and Nintendo, but just let down by that sound processor. So it was a bit of a lazy system design really by Atari. In terms of pricing, this was considered affordable in 1986 with a price tag of $140, which is the equivalent of around about $330 today. Compared to UK money, that's around about £80 compared to about £230 today's money. So it was a relatively affordable console, but despite having that reasonable price tag, it still only sold 1 million consoles worldwide. But I think that was mainly because to do with the external factors of the crash of the games console market in 1983, the advent of the home computers, and of course Nintendo's and Sega's starting their domination of games consoles in the mid-80s. Well, there you go, the Atari 7800 is a good console, and I think it could have been better, and I think the timing wasn't on its side with the change of ownership on Atari, but there you go. If you think I've missed anything out of this review, don't forget to comment below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like, and keep coming back for future content at Console Land.